Hello, welcome back to Did It Work? My name is Nina, and today we're going back to the beginning. It was almost a year ago that I started this cooking channel, and I made Maya Angelou's lemon meringue pie, and we're going to revisit it and make it again. And I'm going to kind of do it for Father's Day. I know some fathers out there that love lemon meringue pie, so this is to them. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that I'm actually going to do, guys, is make the crust. I am going to turn my oven on to 425, and I have some water in the freezer because when you make a crust, the colder the water, the better your crust is going to be. Then I'm going to get my pie pan out. So here's my pie pan. I got to get my pie crust recipe. I still use my rack that I got from my girlfriend that holds my cookbook. So I'm making one layer of crust. I use the Crisco butter flavored shortening. I'm going to get first 1 cup of flour. And then I'm going to leave the flour out. I'm going to need it later because so 1/3 of a cup and 1 tablespoon of the cold shortening. Shortening needs to be cold. The colder everything is for your crust, the better your crust has got to come out. 1/4 teaspoon of salt. What I also put in my crust, because I think that makes my crust turn out better, a little bit of sugar in my crust. You do not have to put it in there. Okay, and then from there, we're going to cut the shortening in. So 2 knives that you would crisscross, a pastry cutter, or you could also use this in a food processor. I don't like doing it in a food processor. I've done it. I just feel like I don't have as much control. Whichever one you like the best. So since I was 16 to now, 34 years, I have been using a knife, 2 butter knives. You want to cut these until you get these to pea size. This is the most that you can ever work with your dough is while you're cutting in the pastry. You don't want to do it for too long because you still want to keep your shortening cold. After this, the more you work with your dough, the tougher your crust is going to be. And that is never something that we want, is tough crust. So got that done. Now I got to get my water. So I had put my water in the freezer already. This has got to call for about 2 tablespoons, if not more, of water. You're going to use enough to make the dough just come together. You don't want it overly saturated. So I'm starting off with 2, and I'm stirring it around in circles. And as I stir it, I think you guys can see it's starting to form together in a ball. And that's what I want. I want a little bit more, so I'm going to use 1/2 of a teaspoon, and I'm going to keep stirring. Don't over stir it, guys. That is not what you want to do. This is about right. When I take my hand in here, this will all press together to make a ball. I'm actually going to use a mat this time because I really need the surface to be clean when I'm done, so I can just pick this mat up. All right, so here we go, guys. So pull it out, and this should all just come together in a ball. All right. This is where I have here. I'm going to put a little bit of flour on here. Put the flour on your rolling pin. You don't want to put too much flour. And again, you don't want to overwork it. I'm going to try to keep it as much into a circle as I can. The more you mess with this, the tougher your dough's got to be. And I'm going to roll this out. I'll kind of tell some of the same stories I told when I did this video the first time. I love lemon meringue pie. I never was brave enough to try it, though. For some reason in my head, it was just a really difficult pie to make. This is more of a custard pie, so I was really kind of afraid I'd mess it up. Then you have the sweetness and the tart. I was also afraid of that a little bit, so I never tried it. But at the same time, I never found anybody that could make it. So I'd always hear people talk about, yeah, I make a really good lemon meringue pie, and I'd be like, next time you make some, can I have a piece? You know, I'll even pay you for it. I've probably paid people for a few lemon meringue pies that I didn't like. So eventually, I started making a chocolate pie, which chocolate pie has a custard in it. So once I figured out I could make a custard pie, I decided eventually I'm going to try to make this lemon meringue pie. So then it was a matter of finding a recipe. When I got to California and decided to do this show, I said, you know what? You have procrastinated at finding this recipe for so long. This is the time for you to do this recipe. So I found it in a cookbook that I had, which was my Angelou's, and I said, here it goes. And I made it, and it was successful. Make sure, measure to see if this fits. I just take the pie pan, set it on top, and I should have excess around the edges of the pie pan. That should tell you that the crust will fit in there. So we got the crust in here. All right, so now we've got to do the edges. See right here, I have a little hole. That's okay. There's some hanging over on this side. I'll just patch it. Easy fixes. Then anything hanging off the edge, I just fold in. That's all I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to just go along the edge and make sure nothing's hanging off. If it is, I'm going to fold it over. So once I got that done, now we're just got to crimp the edges of the pie. I always start with the part that has the most excess dough because the dough's got to end up moving, okay? How I crimp, and I just push them together. That's how I crimp the edges of my pie. Obviously, I am a home cook, so perfection in crust is not what I'm looking for, but it's crimped. Last thing we need to do is poke holes in the bottom of the crust. If you do not poke holes in the bottom of your crust will expand. Some people, instead of poking holes in their crust, they put parchment paper and then fill it with beans or rice to weight it down. I don't do any of that. I like the fork method. This is how my grandma taught me. Here we go. This has got to go into the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes until brown. This is the only time that this is going to bake, so make sure it's done. 15-minute timer. So the next thing that I'm going to get is a baking sheet because, believe it or not, there's bread in the filling of this pie. This calls for 1.5 cups of crumbs from soft type bread with no crust. You could probably do this in a toaster. I'm going to just be honest with you guys. I don't own a toaster, so it goes in the oven at the 400. All of it's done. I have a double boiler, so it doesn't matter what you have your fire on, so I'm going to kind of turn it on medium high. In the top part of the double boiler, so the sugar is going in here. The cornstarch and the salt. I need 1.5 cups of hot water. So I'm going to just keep stirring this up until all that sugar, cornstarch, and salt dissolves. I have a baby food processor, and I'm going to use it for the bread. All right. Now that we have the breadcrumbs all done, and we have our water mixture, and the sugar and stuff is completely smooth, now we're going to add the breadcrumbs. When I'm baking, I always use unsalted butter. So I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole because I was like, no place on God's green earth should this have worked. Not in my head. And it just messed with me that this works. Now, in a lot of some, not all, but in some lemon meringue pies, you use gelatin. It thickens it, right? We're using bread. It's the same concept. But it was just weird because I'm like, we're using cornstarch, which is a thickener. We're using bread, which is a thickener. And the egg yolk will also act as a thickener. And so I'm like, this is crazy. It does not give it a different taste at all. And the other thing is, you know, you have some lemon meringue pies and it looks almost like Jell-O, rubbery texture. Not at all. Got this in. Okay, where's my instructions at? It says until smooth and thickened. So this is thick and it is a much smoother consistency than it was when I first put it in there in little crumbs. I'm good with this. So my next set of instructions. So in this bowl, I am going to get my whisk, beat my egg yolks. All right, now I need to temper my eggs. So get a little bit of this in here. And I'm going to put it in my egg mixture. And I'm going to whisk quickly as I do it. You guys do not want to scramble your eggs. You don't. So I'm going to do one more before I'm going to call myself satisfied. So this is now going to go into, we temper it, we slowly cook that egg so that when we put heat on it, it doesn't instantly scramble like scrambled eggs do. All right, now they want me to cook it for a couple of minutes and stir. So once we get this done, we're going to add the butter, lemon rinds, the lemon zest. I don't know why she keeps calling these things rinds, but they are rinds, but it's zest. Lemon juice, guys. This is making me happy. All right. Now I'm going to let this cool. So now we're going to spread this in here. And I'm going to tell you, the texture still kind of reminds me of a really fine, thick applesauce. I'm actually okay with that than the gelatin stuff that I used to eat all the time. And have you ever noticed, too, in the past how yellow your lemon meringue pies were? It's food coloring. Okay, this is getting set aside, guys. We're not done. So the next thing that we're going to do is the meringue. I'm going to use 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of cream of tartar in here. This is my 4 egg whites that are now got to go in there as well. And now we're going to start mixing. I've got this frothy. I'm going to start gradually adding my 4 tablespoons of sugar as I keep whipping. All right. Does anybody know how to do the test to see if these are whipped to the correct stiff peaks? So a stiff peak is when you do that. But the fun way to test it is if you can tip the bowl upside down without falling out, then they're done. All right, let's go back with the pie, guys. You ready? Ah! And let's top this mug. All right. So now we're just got to spread this out. It is very important to get it all the way to the corner or the edge of the pie. I guess pies don't have corners, but always to the edge. So I'm doing my edges first. All right, guys. So once you have this all spread out, you really want to mound it into the middle. So that's where you want to do it. Now, I am a little bougie sometimes when it comes to my food. And I want my food to kind of look pretty because this is boring, guys. It's just boring. To unbore it, we're going to take this, got to kiss it all the way around. Everywhere that you want to kiss it at, just kiss it. So, you see that? We have that done. Guys, we're going in the oven for 10 minutes. 400. Okay, welcome to the tasting table. This is what we have. This is absolutely beautiful. Let's cut this and see what we have. Here we go. The crust is like so flaky. It is beautiful. You can see like the layers. Look at that. Look how clean, and the texture in that is so beautiful. So you can see how this is set up, and you can perfectly see the layers in there from the crust to the filling to the meringue. It's beautiful. It worked, but we're going to do it again. I mean, come on! Again, the frothiness of this meringue is what I want. Instead of this by itself, it has a slight sweetness to it, but it just melts. As soon as you put it on your tongue, it melts. So when you have it all together, you almost don't even know it's there because it just complements the lemon filling so well. So it's something you just eat all together. Thank you for joining me for a Father's Day special of lemon meringue pie. This is the very first video that I recorded, and now it is the video that I record nearly on my 1-year anniversary, just a few days off. So, as I always say, love with your heart, cook with your soul. My name is Nina. Bye.